Hello, travel partners. It's Richard Fain again, and we're now 3 weeks into working from home. Not the nicest day, still working on my iPad, and we have a lot more to go. I think the full impact of this situation is now becoming increasingly real to all of us. More than 75% of Americans are now being told to stay at home. The government has extended social distancing for another month. If you're in the travel business, as we all are, that's not good. What kind of a society will we have if social distancing becomes the norm? We are all social people, and I, for one, can't wait to get back to being social. In our 50 years together, my wife and I have never spent so much time alone. It turns out that we really like each other. Who knew? And who would have imagined that our entire fleet would be idle? It's just painful. But I also remember my first hurricane experience. It was a doozy. Remember Hurricane Andrew? I recall first hearing that the storm was headed our way a few days ahead of time. The whole thing seemed unreal. I was looking at balmy weather and clear skies. I actually admit that I thought that the meteorologists were overstating the danger. Not so. While I had seen and read about previous hurricanes, this one just didn't seem real. We went to the supermarket to stock up on batteries and canned tuna, but everybody around us seemed to be absolutely oblivious to any danger. Then, a day or so later, the storm started to be felt. The winds picked up and it got very dark. There was an electricity in the air that was tangible, even if I'm having trouble describing it. I thought I understood that this was serious. But it didn't peak. It just got nastier and nastier. We were in the kitchen, and the rain and the wind against the wood that we had used to cover our windows sounded like a freight train headed our way. It was so much worse than I had imagined, and we really started to get nervous. We actually had an interior bathroom that we were set up for, and when the winds were really bad, I began to think that we were going to have to hide in that interior room. But then, just when we had convinced ourselves that this was going to keep getting worse and worse and worse, it started to abate. The wind slowly started to die down and finally dissipated completely. The devastation was fearsome, but we were safe, and we started the rebuilding effort the next morning. I do think there are some interesting parallels here. The outbreak in the United States is right now in the steepest part of the curve. It's still growing. It will get worse and worse, and we will begin to believe that it will only continue to rise. So far, it's really only been a couple of weeks, but the government has already extended it for another month. Ugh. But at the same time, at some point in the not too distant future, this epidemic, just like a hurricane, will begin to dissipate. The very stringent social distancing measures that have been put in place across the country will begin to do their job. The rate of new cases will begin to plateau, and then it will begin to fall. The issue then will be, how do we rebuild? We will all have been through one of the most momentous and excruciating experiences of our lives, but it will take time and effort to rebuild. It's not going to be instantaneous, but it will be productive and it will be successful. There's a reason for the old sailor's expression that it's always darkest before the dawn. It is darkest before the dawn, but we're not yet in the darkest part of the night, but we're beginning to approach that period. And we will have to prepare ourselves for two things. Firstly, we need to prepare ourselves for getting ready for that dark period. And secondly, we need to prepare ourselves for emerging into the dawn that follows. At the Royal Caribbean Group, we want to help with both stages. We realize that your business has evaporated. Just as we worry about how we're going to get through this time and prepare for the restart to come, we know you are too. We want to help, and that's the motivation for our new program, RCL Cares. We announced RCL Cares yesterday, and we will be bringing it online over the coming days. The idea behind RCL Cares is that the government has a number of programs designed to benefit small businesses and individuals during periods like this of trauma. The biggest now is the new CARES Act. These programs can be hugely helpful, but like all government programs, they can also be complicated to navigate. So we've launched our own RCO Cares support program to help you through it. As they say, every cloud has a silver lining. While our operations have unfortunately come to a halt during this period, we have resources that can be redirected to helping you learn and apply for the benefits. We hope these benefits can help your business not only recover, but prepare to charge ahead when we return to service. I will say it again, we're in this together. These are dark days indeed, and it looks like we're going to have an awful lot of them. The term hunkering down takes on new meaning as the time stretches into months, not weeks or days. As Americans, we have a history of grit and resilience. Both will be needed as we deal with the rising devastation this disease is bringing. But the maritime expression is very apt. It really is darkest before the dawn. We'll get back to better times before you know it. In these times, you can never have too much support. And together, we will get through this and back on the track to success. Thank you very much. Oh, and don't forget to wash your hands.